All right, John McIntyre here with Bob Bly. Bob, what are you going to show us today
I
or talk
use,
about?
I use AI in a very specific application as a direct response marketer. And I'll tell you what
Mhm.
that is. I write a lot of copy in the investment newsletter, investment advisory, financial space. And you know that if you follow that, that has morphed over the decades to what we call the big idea. All these promotions have a big idea. The most famous was Porter Stansberry's of a few years ago, the end of America. That's a big idea. And the big ideas are usually predicated on news, thinking, or what's going on in the world today. Back in the day when I was started, the publishers would approach the copywriter and say, here's the idea we want you to write. But today, it's a little different. I have publishers call me and say, we'd like you to consider you writing a promotion. What have you got for us? What's your idea? So I now you need to have an idea generator, and I find AI is ideal for generating and vetting a big idea. By what I mean by vetting is, let's say I have an idea. Is there enough meat behind it to build out, a 20-minute, 30-minute, 35-minute VSL, or a long copy sales page? And AI will quickly tell you that. I don't use it to write the copy, but I know there is enough meat behind it that it can be credible and believable, or conversely, it's too thin. And I think I'd like to start, with your permission, with something that happened yesterday. I got an
Sure.
email. Do you get Newsmax?
No, like a
Yeah.
newsletter?
Newsmax. It's a newsletter. It's a conservative libertarian financial newsletter. Newsmax. And they have a newsletter, they have a magazine. So I get an email from Newsmax, and it says breaking news from Newsmax. Iran says it will block Strait of Hormuz, stop oil shipments. We were all aware of that. So the question is, that's in the news right now. Now we know in
Mm.
financial promotion for consumer financial investment products that if your email or your promotion is congruent with what's in at the top of mind awareness right now, it'll do much, much better than if you pulled something out of a hat. So I said, can I build a promotion around Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz? I think that's how you pronounce it. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, hold on, let me just get it. It's the exact question I used it. Here's what I said. So I said to ChatGPT, I said, hey, if Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz and stops oil shipments from going through there, how will that affect the US economy and stock market? And what stocks would be best for me as an investor to dump? And what stocks would be best for me as an investor to buy to profit from this situation? And within, as you know, because you use it, within seconds, probably less than a minute, it gave me this uh, very detailed outline, an answer, and then over. So if, an answer, and if you want to put it up, you can. You don't need to, but an answer. What's the background? What are the positive and negative effects on both the U.S. economy and on the stock market? But then it said to me, would you like me to build a portfolio of investments for you? That was a follow-up question. So I said, sure. So first it gave me a list of stocks to dump. Airlines, that makes sense, right? Cruise ships, logistics and shipping. Dump these stocks, it said. What stocks, as a result of this cutoff of our oil supply, should I buy? Well, some of them were logical. Energy and oil producers, ExxonMobil, Chevron. Some of them were interesting, oil field services, an area I've done a lot of work for. I used to be an employee back the late 70s. That's how old I am. I used to be an employee in the late 70s of Koch Industries, which is a big energy company. And so I'm very conversant in that equipment in that field. So it said, buy oil producers, but also oil field services. And it listed, for example, Halliburton, Schlumberger, and one that's lesser known, Baker Hughes, which is actually a copywriting client of mine. I still write about refinery equipment today, which is an area I love. I got into it because my background is I'm a chemical engineer. So I glom onto that stock. And then they had some others that I wouldn't have necessarily picked. U.S. shale companies, alternative energy. One of them was a solar, not all of them, and defense stocks. And then they give a short-term strategy. And then, so it told you not only, yes, there's a lot of meat behind this big idea. And if my client didn't say the stocks they like, I could say, well, here are the stocks that we should talk about. And the whole outline of the package is here. Now I know, A, it's meaty enough, and B, I could dig into it and do it, and C, I could present it quickly to the client so they can make a decision whether they want to do a package on the Strait of Hormuz. That is, to me, this is an ideal example because it came yesterday of how I use it. Mm-hmm. That is the main way I use it. I don't do prompting. I don't have it write copy for me. I do research with it. I think I read today that Google right now is still the major source of search, but ChatGPT is catching up. It's not number two. I think the number two one was, it might have been Instagram. I'm not sure what it was. I have it somewhere. I could get it for you if you want. But it proved that I could do this package. Now I can go to the client without doing a lot of speculative work and say, hey, here's an idea. And if they're already doing it, nothing lost on my part. But if they say, hey, that's interesting, the next thing they're going to say is, well, give me a little more, fill it out a little more, which ChatGPT has already done. Now, from this point, the client says, I want the package. They're going to send me a check and a contract. So, then I'm off to the races. This was, I thought, a perfect example for me, at least, of my use of it. And I call it big idea generation and vetting, VETTING. Is there enough meat behind this idea?
Right.
That is how I use it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But so in this case, it sounded like you didn't ask ChatGPT for a list of big ideas. You had a big idea, right? About this Strait of Hormuz thing.
I have never asked it, can you give me a big idea for stock promotion? Now, I think you could do that. But I've been doing stocks promotions, Phillips, Agora, for decades. I don't have trouble coming up with big ideas. Plus, I read the financial news, the stock market news. I know what's going on because this is a market, one of the 2 or 3 markets that I'm involved in every day. But I get these ideas. And my one concern is, has the client already done it? And I don't mind suggesting it. I said to the client, look, here's an idea. If you've done it, no sweat, no need to hire me. But if you haven't thought about it, here's how I would do it. Mm-hmm. And so I use it to vet ideas, not to come up with ideas. Mm-hmm. Though I think that's a very legitimate thing to do. You could do that.
Mm-hmm. And what told you in this case that the idea was like meaty enough in terms of what ChatGPT gave you back?
Well, I could flip the pages through you, but here's what it told me. First of all, it gave me the reasons. Here, let me see. Pages are sticking together. I'm not sure why. So it told me the overview. It said that, hold on, here it is. It said, hey, first to give an overview, if Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, which I already knew, it would have an immediate and significant effect on global oil markets. That's obvious. But it would in turn impact the U.S. economy and the stock markets. Also obvious, but it's confirming what we thought. But then it says, here's a breakdown of what could happen and which stocks would most likely suffer or benefit. Then it gives an overview of the issue, with some facts that if 20 to 30% of global oil shipments pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which I had no idea. I had no idea it was that big. So that's really, that's almost a headline fact. What happens if tomorrow Iran blocks, 30% of the oil supply to the world? Now it tells the consequences, which you could figure out, but it says if blocked, global oil supply would instantly drop, causing a surge in oil prices. So for an investor who invests in hydrocarbons and refineries and oil, now I'm interested. even a short disruption, because we don't know. I didn't ask it, is this likely to start now? Is this likely to go on for a week and then Trump does something? Or is this likely to be permanent? It says even short disruptions would spark panic buying, speculation, and market volatility. So this is all great stuff to use in the promotions. And then it breaks down the negative and positive effects, which I've sort of gone over already. And then it gives you a list of stocks by category to avoid, because you want to know what stocks to dump. And it gives you a category and three stocks in each category. And then it gives you stocks to buy and hold. And it gives you, I think, as I said, oil, energy producers, oil field services, alternative energy, and a few others. And it gives you 3 stocks each. Now, to dig deeper, let's say I looked at this and I said, I could probably tell an interesting story about Baker Hughes because I happen to work with them. And I know what the story would be. What do you think about Baker Hughes? Is it one that you would really hold? And if they said, it's just so-so, maybe not. But if they said Baker Hughes is an undiscovered gem, and here's why, then I could possibly build a promotion around Baker Hughes. And for example, Baker Hughes technology that I might do it around is salt in the oil. Most people don't know that when you pump the crude, it has salt in it. And that's bad for the refinery. Would you imagine why? Well, 2 reasons. First of all, it can corrode the metal of the refinery, can destroy the refinery. And secondly, or corrode it. And secondly, it causes what's called fouling. It gunks up the works. Nobody knows this. Very few people are aware of this. And Baker Hughes has a very little known technology, which I wrote a promotion for, called, of all things, a desalter, which uses filters and electrostatic energy in a grid to take the salt out of the oil. To me, as an engineer, very fascinating. So I could build a whole thing possibly around that. And that's how my mind would work with this, with ChatGPT guiding the way.
Right. Okay. And ChatGPT you would not be using it to write the copy at all.
You
just
could
to brainstorm.
You could. Now I don't. And here's why. I don't know if this sounds like snotty or snobby. I understand people do use ChatGPT to write copy. There's 2 reasons I don't. First of all, keep in mind, I started as a copywriter in the late 70s. I've been doing this now for 45 years, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. If I'm not at least a little bit better than most other sources there, including ChatGPT, I am a moron. I'm not that smart, but I don't think I'm a moron. So I am, and I don't mean this arrogantly. People would say I'm an A-level copywriter. So I am better. I write better copy than ChatGPT. Now, a lot of people there who are more beginners, they're B-level or C-level copywriters. It makes total sense that they're using ChatGPT to help them write copy. But for me, I don't need that. It wouldn't make sense. And that would be the main reason that I wouldn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
what do you think about? Yep.
Let me just tell you the secondary reason. People are saying, hey, if you use ChatGPT, and especially a lot of my friends who are businessmen and businesswomen, they say, you forget the writing, you can concentrate on your strategy. But I like to write. That's what I do. People ask me, what do you do? I say, my profession is not writing. I am a writer. There's many things in life that I like to do. But as far as what do I love to do, it's the top 5 things are write, and write. That's what that's who I am, and that's what I do. I don't want to offload or outsource, even if I could, my writing to ChatGPT or any other Claude or any other program. That's the pleasurable part of the job. Now, I read an interesting interview with a guy who's, of all things, a rancher. He's like a cattleman, I guess they call it. He's a cowboy. And he was talking about how he uses it to run the ranch. And he says, I love ChatGPT because I don't want to spend time at the computer writing. I want to be out with the horses. I don't like horses that much. So I want to be at my desk writing at the computer. That's what I love to do. I certainly get it for people who are not writers, who don't enjoy writing. Yeah, offload it. But for me, that's taking away the fun. That's taking the candy cane out of my hand.
Mm-hmm. So even if it was able to write as good as Bob Bly, you'd be like, I'm still going to do it myself just because I have a blast. I enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah, because there's a thinking, even if it was, and I don't think it is yet. And a lot of people who are experts in the field, I can name them, but I don't want to betray their confidence, say ChatGPT can write better than 90% of copywriters. But the top A-level copywriters, it cannot match yet. Now, will it be able to match them in 10 years? Maybe. In 10 months? Quite maybe. In 10 weeks? It's possible. What I didn't anticipate is that AI has exploded out of the gate. When it started and you heard rumors about it, it was sort of geometric growth. It's exponential. It has come out of the gate faster than I would have ever imagined. So I don't know that, tomorrow it won't be able to do as well or better than me. That being said, I would still write my own copy. I might ask Cheat Sheet if I really thought it was better than me, I might take a look at what it would do afterwards and see, can I incorporate any of this into mine? But no, I wouldn't outsource it.
What do you think like, if you try and get copy from ChatGPT right now, like, what do you think is the problem with it? Like when you...
There are several problems, and I could list them. Number one is a lot of my copy is based on specific examples and it's anecdotes and stories. ChatGPT doesn't know them because they happen to me. They're in my head. I have one about, I won't tell it now, but I have one about how I started a little side business, not really a business, sort of like it was a spoof. I started, do you remember Gigapets, Tamagotchi? The little...
Yeah.
So I started a Gigapet cemetery in my backyard. I won't go into why unless you want to know. There's a press release out on my website that tells, and that's something that it could never have come up with because it happened to me based on a real experience. So ChatGPT doesn't know real experiences. It only knows what it's already read or seen elsewhere. That's one problem. And I have to say that although people talk about its idea to be expressive and start reflecting emotion, I believe I can write, and any A-level copywriter who's, any A-level copywriter who's lived in a life of experience, whether 5 years or 10 years, can outperform ChatGPT from that one aspect, the emotion of it. I remember I wrote a letter for a company that sells for veterinarians condolence cards to patients whose animals passed away. And I don't have the letter in front of me, but it began something like that. It began something like, when my beloved Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever Bailey passed away, it was horrible. And he had been taken to 2 vets. One, they were so sweet and gave me their condolences and sent me a beautiful card. The other didn't even say anything. We'll never go back there again. And you, Mr. Vet or Mrs. Vet, that's why you should have these cards, because your patient's owners are valuable to them. I mean, dogs, I wouldn't say this in the copy, but dogs only live 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years. So one person's going to have a lot of dogs. It's worth a lot of money to the practice. And that practice that was heartless to us, I felt heartless, we're gone. We have another vet. That cost them a lot of money. Dog care and medicine, I don't know if you have a pet, it's very expensive. When we took Bailey to the place, the MRI for a dog was $7,000. It's more than for a human being because there are plenty of human MRI machines, but there aren't that many dog MRI machines. And we were lucky. We bought the one insurance that covered it, not only covered it fully, but you didn't even have to pay the veterinarian or the hospital. We took her to a vet hospital. They reimbursed the practice directly. I didn't have to shell out $7,000. So it's a fortune. Pet insurance is not a trivial thing.
And so you're telling me this story because that's something that you came up with, like that was something from your life. That's not something from ChatGPT.
When I got that assignment and they approached me, they said, we do pet condolence cards. My dog had recently died. I've had several dogs, but he was my best buddy. And I said, when Bailey, sat down and wrote, when Bailey, my beloved Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever, passed away recently. And I knew I had it.
This is something I've thought about a lot where, if everyone has AI, and even if it is as good as an A level copywriter, um, that's still, if everyone has it, it's not an advantage. Everyone has the same thing. As Aaron
That's
said, there's
another
no
argument
advantage
that
to it.
by the way, I believe it's valid. And
Hmm.
you pointed it out, and I've seen a few other people point it out. And Ben Settle, I don't know if you know who he is. He points it out. He says, if everyone's generating the same, AI copy, you have no advantage. And that's
Hmm.
true. We used to say back in the day before the internet, when I started in direct response marketing, the king medium was direct mail, and it was for decades. And we said that what makes the difference? Well, you can have the offer can make a difference, but it's easy enough to test offers and find out which one is the best offer. The um, the mailing list made a huge difference, but it's pretty easy to test the few mailing lists that are available in your niche and find out which ones work best. Therefore, the only remaining advantage was the words, and that was your leverage. Yes, offer and list actually could make more of a difference in response, but once you have those nailed down, the only further leverage you had back then is words. And today we have other things that are equally important to copy. I don't think copy is really king anymore. Funnels are very critical. Strategy is very critical, but words still are important. At the end of the day, you know, people listen to how you say things and what you say, and it still makes a tremendous difference. And we're finding that to this day. Now, the other reason copy is a little less important today is back in the day when we would do a direct mail package to test the concept, that's $25,000 cash. And once you send it out, you can't bring it back. It's out and it'll either perform as has it bad, poorly, well, or in between. Today, something doesn't work, you just do it again. I got an email from a very famous uh, motivational speaker. That was terrible. And I emailed his marketing guy and he says, well, we don't care, because we can send out as many emails as we want. We'll get to our goal. So that's a difference that we didn't have in the direct mail day. Yet still the wording makes a difference. And why would you, if you can get every advantage in your marketing, why would you settle for subpar copy?
Hmm. I mean, the reason I mentioned that is just because when I think about the future, it's not everyone's got the same copy. What makes the difference is those personal pieces of the stories, because it's never going to come up with your story to someone else unless it steals it, I guess. But
It's not
generally,
going
it's
to,
going to be you. That's
well,
how you put your stamp on there.
but the three things it can't do. Number one is the story. That's, as you just said, that's the number one. Number two is the emotion. And I said they're
Mm.
trying to train uh, Claude and ChatGPT to be emotional. But right now, it can't do it at the same level. I don't believe it will be able to do so in the near future. But of course, I've been wrong many times before. And number three is, it can come up with, um, I can come up with ideas based on a lifetime of experience that ChatGPT might not come up with. There's a story about, the painting Whistler's Mother, right?
The painting, what?
The famous painting by Rembrandt, Whistler's Mother.
I mean,
Well,
I could look it up.
no,
I don't know it off the top
I'll
of my
give you
head.
another one. You know who Pablo Picasso is, right?
Uh-huh.
So Picasso was in the street and someone said, could you do a little sketch for me? He was one of the world's greatest painters. So that, he indulged in me. He was in a cafe, did a little thing on a napkin and or on a piece of paper. It took 10 minutes and he gave it to him. She goes, how much for this? He said, $10,000. And he sent her a bill. And when she took him to court, or he took her to court because she wouldn't pay it, the judge said, but how long did it take you to write this? To paint it? Would it take you 10 minutes? He goes, Your Honor, you're not paying for 10 minutes of my time. You're paying for a lifetime of sensitivity.
Mhm.
And that's what someone's presumably or ostensibly paying from a top copywriter.
Right. Whereas ChatGPT is just like a predictive model. Like, yeah, it's not the same
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah. And it's good. It's great, in fact, in some ways, but it doesn't know the way you know, the way I know.
Hmm. It's different. I mean, you think about that. Yeah, it's not intelligent or conscious yet the way we are, the
It
way we
may
can
be
put
in a
ideas
week.
together.
Yeah,
Maybe in a week. Yeah, it could be.
yeah.
We're not there yet. But no, there is that's a certain limitation. It's for now is still there. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So and people say to me, well, Bob, in 10 years, I don't care about 10 years in some ways. I care about now. I'm still involved. I'm old, but I'm still involved with this and I'm doing it. My clients are still doing it. And I cater to those clients, mainly clients who are, I would say, heavyweight direct marketers who every little bit of response makes the difference to them. An X% response, they break even. And with an X.3% response, they're making a fortune. So that's my client. And yes, there's fewer and fewer clients that value paying a lot of money for copy, and many who would rather go to ChatGPT or somebody who's a prompt pilot. I don't care about that because of one person. It doesn't take a lot to fill up my pipeline. I mean, look at this. This is the whole organization.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is one thing I've been thinking about lately because I've been going back to these old ads just to review them and refresh my memory and education lately. And one thing that's like brought up, I'm like, how much of the because of the internet, people don't need to, like you said, you can change it really quickly. Maybe they don't need as much of a response. And I'm like, what would happen if you took, say, an A-level copywriter like you, but then put them onto like a more standard internet marketing funnel? Like it's not where there's a bit more room for movement. Like, is the copy that's around? I'm curious if you think this, the copy that you might see, say, on Instagram and stuff like that. Is it poor? Is it okay? Is it decent? Like Facebook ads?
I'm going to give you an answer that's not quite the answer you're looking for. I choose personally not to be involved in those media. They don't interest me. I work again for clients. Like if I get hired by a dietary supplement company, and they want a 9,000, let's say 5,000 word, 4,000 word sales letter, that's put up there and it stays there. Now, will they tweak it as they go on? Yeah, I had a page up that was very successful for many years, and I noticed every once in a while that there'd be little changes, additions. They do that. But they actually would do that back in the direct mail days too. I'd see a mailing I did and they'd add a handwritten note to it, or they'd put a marshmallow in it or whatever, and so that's par for the course. But with longer copy, the client wants to nail it as right as they can get it the first time.
Right. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, if people want to learn more about you, Bob,
Very
want to go
easy.
deeper down that rabbit hole, yeah, where is that?
If they want to learn more about me and hear from me on a semi-regular basis, if they go to Bly, my last name, B as in boy, ly.com, that's my website. And if you go to bly.com/reports, you can sign up for my free e-newsletter.
Fantastic. I'll have a link to that on the download page.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
It was fun. I appreciate the conversation. Talk to you soon, I hope.